It's me, Riley. I'm back, and this time for a wrap up for the FinishAthon, which finished now that's a weeks, 5 days ago. So a little bit late wrap up, but hey, stuff happens. I'm here now. So yeah. So the FinishAthon it lasted from the 1st of March, so February, 1st of March till the 7th, so the first week of March. And the idea was to kind of finish books you kind of been putting off or hadn't finished for a while. And yeah, I had big plans. I ended up finishing 3 books, maybe 4, but I think it's 3. If it's 4, I'll link it down below in the doodle, but I'm 98% sure it's just 3. But still, 3 books, finishing 3 books, I'm quite satisfied with that. And yeah, those 3 books were kind of a mixed bag. One was actually a DNF, but I'm still counting it because I'm not gonna finish it. So, like, it's out of my life. So yeah, I'm counting it. And yeah, let's start with a book that was interesting. So, Legacies by Mercedes Lecky and Rosemary Edgefield. This is the first in a series, YA series. This book came out in 2011. I found it on a whim. I found it accidentally. I found it accidentally. Well, I found it while browsing in a used bookstore. I thought it looked cool. Like I hadn't heard anything about it at all. Sometimes it's kind of fun to go into books you haven't really heard much about. And also, Mercedes Lecky. I've read great books by her, so I thought this one probably good. I read a bit about it on the back. It's a boarding school. It's magic. Sounds very much up my alley. So yeah, I felt well, and yeah, so I bought it, and then I kind of started read 1 2 sentences, and then I didn't read more because I hadn't really been in a panty mood. But yeah, so I took this opportunity to finish this one, and I did finish it, even though I kind of had sorry, I had an idea for maybe DNFing it because yeah, I was very much on the fence on this one. Like, it started good, it had good potential, but then it never really left the like potential level. Like okay, so this is awful, and has potential. It's good, interesting. You want to keep on reading. And this is amazing. This book, sorry, this book was always here in the middle. And in the middle is fine for beginning. I mean, you kind of have to start in the middle there. At least in my head, you kind of have to start in the middle there. You have to give them readers something to be interested in, but still it's the beginning, so you can't really be all in because you don't know anyone, you don't know any characters or anything like that yet. But like, if a book is like going like that and not like that, like intensity level, it's not a good book. So yeah, I would say 50% of this had potential, but it kind of just ended up being boring-ish scenes. And then the last 10-20% was just really scary. And I just kind of, what? It just felt so weird, the tone mix. Also, yeah, it is the start of a series, but still, in my mind at least, any book, if it's part of a series or standalone, it should it should start by raising questions like what is going on, who's doing this, etc., etc., etc. Even if it's not crime, even if it's not mystery, there should always be like someone who is doing something. There should always be something unknown, at least in my head. Or how do you do this? Or yeah, the the questions like who, why, how, all those stuff. And yeah, books should ask those questions, and then by the end they should answer some of them and then give new questions. Or they'll answer most of them if it's standalone and maybe hint at something else. Like, I mean, they can't hint at something else even though it's standalone. This one, it asked a lot of questions and we got some answers, yeah, but they were just the answers we got. I couldn't really say they were that satisfactory, and they weren't. Yeah, they were just so thin. But all in all, this book, yeah, No, a letdown. Big letdown. It's not even one of those books where I'll maybe go on Wikipedia to like check out how the rest of the series end up. No. I've lost all interest of this series. All interest. And actually, yeah, if you'd asked me like if when I was halfway through the book if I would recommend it, I could say you might read it, you might not read it. It's up to you. It's not a book you have to read. It's not a book you avoid. After finishing it and not getting so many answers that I wanted, avoid this book. Avoid like the plague. Maybe a bit weird, wrong use of words, but yeah, just avoid it so much. Then we have The House at Baker Street by Michelle Buckby. So honestly, I honestly thought I'd started this and I started like, oh yeah, I just had thought of starting it for many months, but hadn't actually started this before last week. So this technically is kind of on the fence of being eligible for FinishAthon, but I had thought of reading it for many months, so and I did finish it last week, so I'm counting it. But yeah, so this is a mystery where Miss Hudson, the housekeeper of Sherlock Holmes, and Mary Watson, uh, John Watson, the uh, Sherlock Holmes sidekick. So Mary Watson is his wife, and Mary Watson and Martha Hudson or Mrs. Hudson, they end up solving a mystery. So yeah, the two females in Sherlock Holmes' life solve this mystery, and they're like detectives in this book. It's very, very creepy, a very good mystery. I would say at points it's kind of drags a bit like. So Mrs. Hudson is the narrator in this book, and I would say like sometimes she kind of stops the plot to explain something that happened years ago. And yeah, I do get having backstory and background, but I think it depends very much how you do it. And in this book, it kind of plot just kind of stopped. Once you did it, the book just kind of stopped. But most of the part was like, oh, clues, stop happening, and then stop, we're gonna explain this stuff. And it's like, yeah. So that's my only gripe. Only gripe. So yeah, it's actually the first in a duology. At least so far, it's just two books. I'm thinking you probably could write more, but at this point in time, there's two books. And yeah, this one I would definitely recommend. Definitely recommend. But yeah, as I said, it's a scary book, so read it either in summer, middle of the day, or read it while you have all the lights on, and not before you go into bed, because that will give you nightmares. It will. And then lastly, the one DNF'd was The People Girls of Paris by, I can't even remember the author. She has a name. I'll link her. Of course, I'll link all the books down below. But yeah, so this is the Y historical. It came out last year. Last year, yeah, pretty sure it came out last year. Came out either last year, 2019. Came out pretty recently. And yeah, it's a debut book, and I think maybe it shows because. So yeah, I listened to it on audiobook, and I got like 2 hours or so into it, and it was interesting, but like still, it didn't really leave. Like the beginning was like, oh, interesting. There's like the plot was introduced. Like the great grandma, the grandma of the protagonist is dead, and she left her house or her apartment in Paris to her granddaughter, the protagonist. This apartment, no one in the family knew was a thing. That they didn't really know that the person had this apartment. There's a big mystery around that, and that's interesting. But for me, it was just kind of too slow, and I didn't really. Yeah, I did. I get there 2 hours, and it was like an 8 hour audiobook. I suppose I could have finished it, but and also like from how far I got, it didn't really seem that kind of unique. Like at least in my mind, if you're gonna write something about something that's been written a lot about before, like Second World War, which is this book that it's set both in 2020 but also in Second World War. It's kind of like they found a diary, and so there's two timelines. And like, when I write about Second World War, which has been written about so many times, could you do it in a way that's interesting? Like, tell it from, I don't know, from Icelandic teenagers, because I don't really think I've seen that. Or uh, tell it from maybe people living on the street in Paris while all this was happening. But telling it like so for the like how far I got, it didn't really seem all that interesting, the characters. And if the characters are not that interesting and it's contemporary, how do you how do you define a book that's set both in our time and also in the past or flashbacks? Is it contemporary historical? Historical contemporary? Contemporary with historical elements? Anyway, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, and yeah, if you're gonna do that, I just kind of feel like it's been done so much before, and this, I mean, yeah, sorry. So these stories are based mostly like around characters. Yes, there's a big war going on, but like it's very character focused and character based. Most of these stories, like if there's not fantasy or action, it's often characters that kind of need characters to be good and interesting. And yeah, this just wasn't it. Sadly, sadly. So yeah. So that was my week last week. I did read like some of other books, but I didn't finish other books. And yeah, so I'll link the creator of the tag of this readathon in W. And